I love to do like magical things. I love fantasy. So it's as I progressed with my studio, I really started, which really grew during lockdown of 2020. As ironic as that is, it was a perfect time for me to start to really grow my business in the States. Um, it developed over time because that was also when children's books created by the authors were those of African American or people of color, and they were looking for illustrators like me because they, as I mentioned before, they wanted someone who was like
Welcome
them.
to the We Got Problems podcast with co-hosts Curtis G. Martin, Rhonda L. Brown, and Caliph Johnson Sr., the one and only podcast where solutions get discussed to our community's everyday troubles. Each week, you will hear mind-blowing conversations and actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become more effective. We got problems and we got solutions.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems, where we discuss solutions. I'm Curtis G. Martin. I'm here with my co-host, Rhonda L. Brown.
Hey, everybody.
I have my second co-host with me, Caliph Johnson Sr.
Hey, peace, y'all. How y'all doing?
And we have a special guest in the house today. That's LaVana. LaVana, why don't you go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Love and Light family, thank you so much for having me here on your podcast. I really, really do appreciate it and so excited to talk today. So, my name is LaVana Colebrooke. I am the CEO and lead artist at Fangimation Studios. It's an art studio that focuses on creating colorful and playful illustrations and pieces of art. So, I am a digital illustrator making children's books.
All right, cool. So how did you get into animation?
Animation. I got into animation and I got into illustration because illustration is just the still images of animation, and animation is moving illustrations. I got into it when I was really young. I was drawing manga and anime and creating characters from like the age of 12, but I was making stories in my head around the age of 8 and 7. And then when I went to high school, I got into several art classes, and college, I got into several art classes and theater, which was really fun. My master's degree, I also went to go and did some. I did a lot of drawings and illustrations at that time, but I really didn't get into it and turn it into a studio until I was abroad getting my PhD, and I had a lot of time to really focus on it. And it's interesting because this is my career, but I never really got the official degree in art. It's a passion that turned into a business and something that of a study that I did myself later on. So I turned it into an official business in 2017, 2018, when I was abroad doing my PhD. And I'm here today still drawing, as you can see with my background, beautiful and colorful illustrations of mostly characters that look like me because I like you draw yourself.
So you said you went to school for something else and not art, but you took the
Exactly.
oh wow. So this is something that came natural to you, like the drawing and that's something.
Yes. It
Okay.
just never died in me. I would be in school doodling in my sketchbook, and I actually handed in one of my final assignments for class using my doodles from class from that same class. The teacher was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, but look, my notes are right there next to my doodles."
hmm Okay, so how do you keep up with the newest trends in animation?
Well, in terms of animation, I you have to do your research. You have to do your research. You follow them on TikTok, Instagram. It's what I do is when I see a project or I see a video that I really like or an animation that I really like on YouTube, I would go and research the studio, and then I would research the people who are running the studio, and then I would follow the people who are part of that studio. So there's a lot of following, and then looking at what type of styles they are doing, and then watching a lot of animated movies, which is one thing I love to do, watching animated movies, 3D, 2D, and then you pick up and you can see the trends of animation evolving. And I've actually done a topic of this, looking at the different evolution of animation and cartoons, from my childhood that I've watched to today's type of animation. And it's really fun. And that's how I keep in the loop of things.
So, what's your favorite type of projects to work on for as animation?
I really, really love the type of animation where it's the hair is flowy. It's the hair is flowy. Growing up, I watched a lot of Disney, and I watched a lot of 21st Century Fox,
Mhm.
and they had, and a lot of Don Bluth films, and the style that they had, their hair was just so flowy and gorgeous. I mean, Ariel and Belle from Beauty and the Beast. But then I thought, I wonder what my hair texture would look like with that type of animation. So when I draw my characters, I think about, okay, how will the hair flow in this type of environment? Windy, underwater, everything like that. And everything starts at a still image, because a picture holds 1,000 words and more. So then I do the still image, and then I break it up so that I would have like in betweens and then the main section, and then I would do the smaller parts inside of the in betweens, and then I would be able to draw and illustrate that.
Which ones do you tend to stay away from, or you don't like doing as much?
Hands.
Yeah, what hands?
Hands. Just doing hands, illustrating hands is something that's not one of my favorites. I can do it, but it's not one of my favorite ones.
Okay. So how long does it normally take you to do a project from start to finish?
So when I'm illustrating a book, it takes a minute to decipher how long it would take. So I gather the information about how many pages they want, how much detail they want, and what art style they're looking for, because my studio provides different art styles. If they're looking for something with a full background, with full color, and it's very intricate, it can take up to a year and a half, especially if they're asking for 15 plus illustrations, because the average children's book is 32 pages of illustration. And then 42 pages with like the front and the back and the pages in between. So it can take about that long. But if it's a shorter type of project, let's say 3 to 6 months, then that means the illustration is simpler. It's not as many pages. Maybe it's just focusing on the main character and does not have a lot of background. And the art style is very simple to do. So it can range between 3 to 6 months, and then 6 months to a year and a half.
So, what type of digital products that you use for software to help with animation, and which ones are your favorite?
So with my art studio, I use open source programs, meaning that those are programs that are open and free to the public, and you do not have to pay for them. So I use Fire Alpaca and I use Krita for the little animations that I do, and the majority of my illustrations and drawing digital artwork that I do for my clients. And then for my hardware, what I use is my Huion tablet. It's like a 22-inch screen tablet. And I also use a smaller portable one, which is an XP Pen 13-inch. That's the one that I use for traveling, because it's literally the size of my laptop screen. So I can just put it in my bag and put it in my laptop carrier and take it wherever I go.
Okay.
Okay. So I know we all get them. Do you ever get those hard to work with clients? Like ones that just no matter what you do, you can't please them.
I have gotten one client, but that was mostly due to miscommunication, because the way that I set things up here is so that it's easy, because I deal with a lot of first time authors, and it's mostly first time authors who look like me, looking for someone who could draw people of the rainbow brown is what I call it, that whole spectrum of rainbow brown, and can understand the hair textures, understand the different hues that we have, understand all of that. So when I get those type of clients, they really don't know what they're doing. It's their first time, so I have a guideline that shows them this is the steps that we're going to do. These are the milestones that we need to follow. And most of the time, I'll say 98% of the time, they understand and they're able to follow that. Now, I do get that person who's like, okay, I know it's after milestone 6, and you said there would be no more edits because we spent the first 6 months working on the first 4 milestones. But could you like make this edit here and that edit there? Which I do, but you would get that one that would say, hey, I need a completely whole new page in the illustration. I was wondering if you can change this and change that. Because if they go in their manuscript and they adjust things, then it could possibly change the entire composition, can completely change the storyboard. So I've had a couple of clients who um, requested that the storyboard be changed, and that I would say would be one of my biggest hurdles that I have here at the studio. But I do accommodate them as best as I can and explain to them it's milestone 6. We really don't make changes after this, but I can make this change if you want to, but I suggest this and that. So I manage those type of requests and clients.
Depends on how their pocketbook is too, right? If the pocketbook fat, then we change all day, right?
I mean,
Okay.
after after a certain milestone, I'm like, it's an extra fee if you want if you want another page from the 32 pages you
Yeah, there
requested.
we
Yeah.
go.
Okay, so that kind of leads into my next question. So
Okay.
when you're dealing with your clients, right? Do you want them to come in with specifics on how they want their project to go, or do you prefer your clients to come in with just an idea and you kind of develop it together? Which one is easier for you, or which one do you prefer?
I prefer the specifics just because with that you're able to have you everyone already has a mindset of what their book looks like. And it's my duty to help them flesh that out and put it into words, because a lot of them don't know the technical terms of publishing, or they don't know how to say I want a 2-page spread, or I want a full page color illustration. They don't talk like that. They don't know the language. So I provide with them a guideline and a questionnaire on what to think about, dimensions, how you want your book to be seen, what's on the book cover, the overall color scheme and color palette, because that's how I work. And the best way I can bring out your book and how to phrase it in a way that I understand, that's the best way possible for me.
Have you ever had to turn down a client? And if you did, why?
I have turned down clients before, and there's actually two main reasons. The first one is that they look at my art style and they love my art style, but it does not really fit the requirements that they're looking for their project, if that makes sense. Because when I go and I look at a client's projects, I'm posted on Upwork as a freelancer. They are able to post their job and what they're looking for. So I read their proposal and everything. And if it doesn't match my skills, even though they think it might, then I politely decline. And then the second reason I say no to clients is because of my workload. If I'm working on a 32-page book, a full page illustration, I cannot take on any more work because my main energy and focus is on that book.
Oh, that's good
So,
business.
so do you work by yourself or do you have a team? Like I know you said with your workload you have to, turn down some of them, but
I'm by myself.
okay.
It's an LLC, so I currently work by myself. However, after this year, I would like to start building more of a team, because there are some things that they can do, like in terms of customer service, talking with the clients and everything. And there are some things that I can do. So I would love to hire more people for my team in the future.
Okay. So how long does it? how long would it take to create something like you do? Would if you were to like say I wanted to take my book and turn it into a cartoon, right? How long would it
Mhm.
take for you to turn me into a cartoon and come up with an idea like that?
So you mean cartoon as in an animated cartoon?
Like an animated person, like make trash vegan into an animation.
Like a still picture animation, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of animation, how far we have it right now in the studio is that it's like what Curtis said. It's like it would be a still picture with some pieces and aspects being animated. Now, a full blown animation like a commercial, that's a service we don't have just yet.
Hmm.
We're still working on it, but in what we do have, that would most likely take about 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Good answer.
Now, do you teach animation, or do you have any classes or courses or mentorship programs that you do?
So I do not teach animation at the moment. Right now, the only type of classwork or courses that I do would probably be on my live streams, where I would just give my live streams on Instagram, where I would give like some study courses, or let's say I'm sitting down studying an artist, I would sit down and study the artist with them. Or let's say we're analyzing an animation film, looking at the storyboard, looking at the character development and everything, then that would be considered a class, a class, quote unquote, just because it's a live stream. But I would love to do classes. I would love to do classes. I was a substitute teacher for a few years, and just being able to read the children's books is what really encouraged me to start drawing them myself. So I would love to do classes and courses in the future for Fangimation Studios.
Oh wow,
Mhm.
that's good.
Okay. So do you have an accountability partner, or coach, or mentor, or anything?
No, I'm accountable for myself.
So no
I'm
mentors.
accountable for
Who
myself.
who you look up to for as animation, and like where you get your information from?
I love Don Bluth. He made things like Rockadoodle Doo and All Dogs Go to Heaven and the Lamp Four Time series, which I love. That was my jam growing up as a kid. And then there are some modern day animation houses. There's one in Japan that's run by two black characters, individuals who have their own animation, and I think it's called Lighthouse Animation. So there's them, and then there's a couple others that I follow on Instagram that I get inspired by, and they're really really good at what they do.
Okay. So you said you started an LLC. Have you looked into an S corp? If not, why not? And do you look into putting your S corp into a trust?
I would love to do all that because I have big plans for Fangimation Studios in the future, when I envision what we would like to do and how we would like to assist and build the community, especially dealing with children in art. So I know having that type of foundation is necessary.
So when you guys started, did you create a business plan or do any type of market research to see what area you would attack or what niche?
With the information I had at the time, I did do some form of research, especially in terms of the type of illustrations that I make, just because it's mostly people of color, rainbow brown people, because I like drawing characters that look like me. I can draw diverse characters, like I can draw people of other complexions, but my go to is just automatically someone who looks like me. So when I was doing my research, that was my initial group that I was focusing on. And of course, it developed over time because I mostly like to do fantasy, like mermaids. I love to do anime. Um, I love to do like magical things. I love fantasy. So it's as I progressed with my studio, I really started, which really grew during lockdown of 2020. As ironic as that is, it was a perfect time for me to start to really grow my business in the States. Um, it developed over time because that was also when children's books created by the authors were those of African American or people of color, and they were looking for illustrators like me because they, as I mentioned before, they wanted someone who was like them, being able to draw books for them. And with lockdown, they had the time to do it. So it went from just drawing characters like me to illustrating characters for children's books. So it went from digital art and having fun with fantasy to children's book niche.
Okay. So do you see a lot of younger people in your field, or do you
I
think there's a
really,
space for them?
there is a space for them because it hasn't really died. It's a growing niche that's continuing to develop because once people found out, hey, if they can do it, I can do it, then everyone started doing it. In
Hmm.
terms of kids or younger adults who wish to do illustrations, there is room for them. It's really just finding out, as Curtis said, your niche. And then their road is different from my road. Like, I didn't go to school for art specifically, it was something that I just continued to study on the side, but it
Hmm.
was not my major. And then it developed over time and I turned it into a business. Now,
So,
the kids,
so do you
oh, go ahead.
mentor? Do you mentor in your field? Like, do you have
I
any
have
young artists that you mentor?
I have not had the opportunity yet to mentor people. I would love to mentor them. I would love to give them some guidance. But then again, if they decide to go to school for art and then go that route, my experience in that might be a little small, but I can definitely help them with developing their business idea, developing the niche that they want to aim at, being able to connect with people. I would be able to help them with also creating their art because a lot of artists feel insecure about their art. They're not sure if people are going to like them. They're not sure if people are going to be receptive of them. So it's actually a really big mental game to get your art out there and encourage them to show their art despite what people might think and being able to take what people say and use it as constructive criticism.
Hmm.
Okay, so what's your why? Why is it? What do you do this for? Why? Like, what's the why behind it? I know you kind of mentioned it when we first got started, but what's the
Mhm.
real why you do what you do?
I do what I do because because I love to show children, especially children of different minority groups, that you can see yourself in a picture. You can see yourself doing this and doing that because the power of images is very strong. Mainstream media and social media does it every day to technically brainwash you, quote unquote, to think a certain way. Well, why can't I just brainwash you into thinking that, yes, you can be a doctor? Yes, you can start your own business. Yes, you can be a mermaid and a fairy, and you can have magical superpowers and transform and defeat evil and do everything for good and justice. So drawing those type of illustrations and drawing my characters always smiling is already implementing into people's minds, especially children of different ethnicities and rainbow brown, that hey, I can smile every day, hey, I can be a mermaid. So that is my why, to make them feel and seem that they can see themselves in illustrations.
I like that. So do you have an affiliate program?
An affiliate program,
Hmm.
not yet. I do have a link tree which goes to my different platforms that I have, like YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and my Behance profile and all that. So yeah, I would love to start an affiliate program with my community because it's still growing, it's still developing. So I just want to be there and ready for everything when it does jump off.
Okay, so you said that you want to start coaching and helping the youth along the way. Are you
Mm-hmm.
creating like a blueprint or like a course where others can follow?
I do have some notes written down. It has not been published yet because before I present it to my community, I want to make sure that one, I can focus on them when it does start, and two, they have the right and correct information because I have to set up everything. So once that's done, I'll be able to let my community know everything. But it's steps, I have the overall dream, and then there's steps for each one. And then, excuse me, as I'm building my team, I'll have more and more help to be able to manage and do all those things.
All right, look, before we wrap this up, I'm gonna put this last question out there. Were there times when you thought this wouldn't work? And I want to like really take it back to when you say you were abroad, because you told
Mhm.
us a story once about you being abroad back in 2020. So was that a time that you thought maybe you wanted to quit? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a little backstory for those who weren't there when I did talk about the story. I was abroad in China when COVID did hit. So I was evacuated and then quarantined in the States and then quarantined and then locked down again in the States. So at that time, I did feel very sad and I felt very defeated just because my original plan that I had for my education didn't work out. However, what really helped me going during that time was my art. My art kept me alive. My art kept me motivated. It kept me sane. So there was never a thought in my head that this is not working. The only thing I thought about was my art is working because it was keeping me going. And then I wanted to share that even more with people. And I started to see results because with lockdown, you couldn't go out and you couldn't find a job. You were in your house. But if you were working from home, which I could do as a digital artist, and one of the reasons why my business really just grew from that, then it was much easier for me. So, no, it was never a thought of this is not working. It was a thought of how can I make this work more?
Okay.
Okay. So our oh, I'm sorry, Curtis, you had a question?
Yeah, no, I wanted to dig in there a little bit because you told us at one point that you created some type of project that helped you cope with the pandemic and during 2020, and it was surrounded about art.
Yes, it was called Wuhan Love Notes, because I was in the city of Wuhan when everything happened, and it was the ground zero of everything. That's where it all started. So it hit the city really hard in terms of morale, in terms of people's spirits. But over there, people were trying to encourage each other. They were shouting positive words of affirmation from their windows. They were having signs on their windows showing everyone to be encouraged. So I wanted to do something. I did Wuhan love notes where I used my hands and I did like this and like this, like little heart signs that you would make with your hand. And then I had my friends and those who heard about it would write notes of encouragement to Wuhan. And then I would add that to each image and I would send it internet and I would send it on the web so that people could see and my friends and family and their friends and family could read, hey, this person is using their art to encourage people. And then it got picked up from a school in South America and the teacher was like, we would love to do this as well. And they did, and all the little kids in the class sent words of positivity and prayers and encouragement for Wuhan. And I was like, that's the power of art. That is the power of illustration. Seeing how it touched the hearts of little kids and then how they used their love to spread it to everyone else. I was like, that's Wuhan love notes right there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. So our next session or section is rapid fire. So quick, 20-second
Okay.
answers,
Hmm.
whatever comes to mind is not, you don't have to think too hard. But What's the most important thing you've learned in life?
The most important thing I've learned in life is don't quit on yourself and don't quit on your dreams. Because when you quit on yourself, your dreams will die.
Okay, if you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh, um, Denzel Washington,
And why?
because he is an amazing actor and his presence is so strong, and he went through a lot, I'm sure, in his acting career, and he always has words of wisdom. So I would just love to hear about his passion and how his love for acting and brought him to where he is now.
So if you can go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Keep drawing, don't stop. It doesn't matter if you don't think it's awesome, you don't it doesn't matter if you think it looks sucky. Just keep drawing and share it, because it that is your portfolio and that shows the world you're growing.
So we always hear about, people say you should invest in this and that. What are some things that you invest in
I've invested in some. Wait, do you mean invested in myself or invested outside of myself?
outside of yourself?
I've invested in Black Sand Studios Entertainment, which is a art studio a publishing studio, excuse me, a publishing studio that creates wonderful pieces of Black art in term that's set in Egypt. Their storyline is amazing. They started themselves. They're their own indie company. So I've invested in them, and I've invested in other startup indie books and authors who created their own stories, and I just bought their books and some of their merchandise to encourage them and show them on my Instagram and other platforms.
Okay. What's the one tool that you use to make your business run smoother?
Notepad.
I use that one a lot too myself.
Pops in your head, write it down.
So if you can recommend one book, what would that book be?
Oh, there's so many books. So many books to choose from. Okay. I would recommend the first book I would recommend is get the book that you love their art style and study the heck out of it. I can't just choose one. That's an overarching answer, I know, but choose that one book who you love the art style and the drawings and everything, and study the heck out of it. Copy some of the illustrations, copy their style, and try to incorporate certain aspects into your artwork so it can grow and evolve.
Which book was that for you?
There were so many books. There really was. And it's all blending in my head because
Okay.
I had so many. I read so many books as a child. I really did. Um, modern day modern day books. I forgot the name of I can't believe I forgot the name of the artist, but she did these beautiful detailed illustrations of fairies and nature. Some of her artwork is on tarot cards, and she also did a lot of books for fairies and what they would call new age books. So her artwork was just gorgeous. It really was. Very detailed. So detailed. It's insane.
Okay. What is your best tip for making your community a better place?
The best tip I would say for making your community a better place is to have a lot of laughs. When I do my live streams on Instagram, I would talk about a lot of things from my childhood, and I would laugh and giggle about it, and people in the comments would be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that," and they would be laughing and giggling too. So laughter helps a lot.
Okay. How do you celebrate your wins?
I celebrate my wins with a glass of wine.
Oh, cool. All right. So, last question: how can the people find you?
You can find me on my social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I have a Behance profile as well. If you go to my Instagram page at Fangymation Studios, you'll be able to see our link tree, and then you can click on that and follow us on our other social media platforms that we have.
All right, cool. Any last words, Rhonda?
Oh, I would just, I mean, art wise, I would say keep creating.
All right, cool. How about you,
Yeah.
Trash?
You know what, sis? I just want to thank you for sharing your gift with us and all that you do for our community. It's not enough of you out there. We don't have enough melanated illustrators out there in this industry, and I thank you for keeping on blazing your trail.
I would
Thank
just
you.
say too, as well. Thank you for coming on the show, and for anybody that's looking to get their kids into art, into illustrations, into animation, make sure you follow LaVana. She's good at what she do, and let's turn our community into a better place with art. Hey, you guys, this is We Got Problems, and we also have solutions, and we out.
Peace.
From the team at CRC Empire, we want to thank you for listening. To stay connected with us, like, share, and subscribe to the We Got Problems podcast. You can find us on social media platforms at Curtis Martin 247, at Rhonda Wrights Official, and at the_trash_vegan_. We got problems and we got solutions.